Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán arrived in Moscow yesterday for a highly scrutinized meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, marking their 14th face-to-face engagements since the conflict in Ukraine began nearly 4 years ago. The primary objective of the visit was to secure Hungary's energy future as the winter season approaches. During the 3.5-hour discussion, the two leaders focused heavily on ensuring the continued flow of natural resources that are vital for the Hungarian economy. The Hungarian delegation announced that they had received firm guarantees from the Kremlin for uninterrupted natural gas deliveries through the Turkish Stream pipeline and oil shipments via the Druzhba pipeline. Orbán emphasized that his government had successfully negotiated a license exemption from the United States, allowing major Russian energy companies to continue supplying Hungary until late 2026. In addition to fossil fuels, the talks yielded a commitment to accelerate construction on the PAX nuclear power plant, with new operational phases scheduled to begin in February. Putin praised the Hungarian leader for his pragmatic approach, describing him as one of the few European figures who understands the complex realities on the ground. This meeting highlights Budapest's strategy of maintaining economic stability through Russian cooperation, even as the rest of the European Union attempts to sever these exact ties. The diplomatic implications of the Moscow visit extended far beyond energy agreements, touching on the prospect of ending the war in Ukraine. Prime Minister Orbán has consistently positioned himself as a potential mediator between the West and Russia, advocating for what he calls a pro-peace stance in contrast to the pro-war policies he attributes to Brussels. During their talks, Orbán reiterated his offer to host future peace negotiations in Budapest, a proposal that President Putin viewed favorably. The Russian president specifically mentioned that he would be willing to meet United States President Donald Trump in the Hungarian capital. This follows a previous agreement between Putin and Trump to meet there in October, which was ultimately canceled by the American leader, who cited concerns about the meeting being a waste of time without guarantees outcomes. Orbán's recent trip to Washington to meet with President Trump further underscores his role as a go-between. However, neither the Kremlin nor Budapest offered confirmation that formal peace talks are currently scheduled. The discussion reflects a growing alignment between the two capitals on the need to keep diplomatic channel open, with Putin calling Orbán the voice of reason in Europe during a time of deep geopolitical division. Reaction from Western allies was swift and sharply critical, revealing the deepening fracture within the European Union and NATO regarding how to handle relations with Russia. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz issued a strong condemnation of the visit, noting that the Hungarian Prime Minister traveled to Moscow without any mandate or consultation with European leadership. Merz recalled that a similar, uncoordinated mission by Orbán last year failed to yield any progress toward peace, and was instead followed by intensified Russian attacks on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. He expressed serious doubt that this new initiative would be any distinct from the last, warning that unilateral diplomatic efforts often pose risk rather than solutions. Slovenian Prime Minister Robert Golob joined the chorus of disapproval, stating that Orbán had effectively stopped playing for the European team. Officials in Brussels argued that Hungary actions undermines Western unity and collective security policies. They viewed the visit not as a genuine peace mission, but as a move that legitimized the Kremlin's position while isolating Hungary from its traditional allies. This growing rift suggests that Budapest is carving out a sovereign foreign policy that prioritizes national interests and bilateral ties with Moscow over the consensus of the Atlantic Alliance. While tensions simmer in Europe, President Putin is simultaneously preparing for a major diplomatic offensive in Asia to demonstrate that Russia is far from isolated. The Russian leader is scheduled to travel to New Delhi next week for the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit, where he will hold high-stakes talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This state visit, the first since the war began, is intended to showcase the resilience of the strategic partnership between the two nations despite years of pressure from the United States to pull India into the Western orbit. The agenda for the summit is extensive, focusing heavily on defense and technology cooperation. Both leaders are expected to review the status of the S-400 air defense missile squadrons and explore potential upgrades to the advanced S-500 systems. Discussions will also cover joint civil nuclear projects and Russia's proposal for India to evaluate the Sukhoi 57 fighter jet. Bilateral trade has already surged to record levels, touching nearly $70 billion, and both sides are aiming to reach $100 billion by the end of the decade. This visit sends a powerful signal that the historic ties between Moscow and New Delhi have not only survived the geopolitical storm, but are deepening across military and economic sectors. The global geopolitical landscape is further complicated by escalating threats in the Western Hemisphere and intensified fighting in eastern Ukraine. Russia has moved to strengthen its strategic foothold in Latin America, signing 18 new cooperation agreements with Venezuela to support the country against foreign pressure. This reinforcement comes as United States President Donald Trump signaled a dramatic shift in policy, announcing that American forces would soon begin land operations to halt drug trafficking from Venezuela. Trump stated that maritime interdiction had been successful and that expanding the mission to land was the next logical step. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro responded with defiance, warning that his nation would rise as a republic in arms to defend its sovereignty against any imperial aggression. Meanwhile, on the European front, the war in Ukraine continues to rage with renewed intensity. The Russian Ministry of Defense reported its most significant eastern advance in months, claiming the capture of several settlements in the Donetsk region, including Zvanovka and Ivanopoli. Moscow asserts that Ukrainian forces have suffered heavy casualties as Russian units push deeper into defensive lines, clearing micro-districts and repelling counterattacks. These simultaneous developments in Europe, Asia, and South America paint a picture of a world increasingly divided into competing blocs, with military and diplomatic maneuvers accelerating across the globe. If you have made it this far, congratulations, you have unlocked the truth. I want to ask you a quick question though. Do you believe Prime Minister Viktor Orbán is truly acting as a necessary voice of reason to keep the lights on in Hungary and potentially broker peace? Or is he effectively betraying the European Union by strengthening Vladimir Putin's hand just as the West tries to maintain a united front? Is it possible for a NATO member to maintain such close ties with Moscow without compromising collective security? Or is this simply pragmatic survival in a cold geopolitical winter? And why? Join the debate. We want to hear your insightful opinion on where this is all heading in our community. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I appreciate your support. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Like the video, share this video with friends and family, hit the notification bell, and most importantly, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.